phase of the Special Intensive Review Exercise, or SIR. This will now be spread across 12 states starting from the end of this month. It includes all the poll-bound states next year except Assam, so which means Bengal, Tamil Nadu, Kerala. The opposition-ruled states that are Bengal, Tamil Nadu and Kerala have already said that this is an anti-democratic exercise and this is really a backroom way of helping the BJP in those states. The Election Commission will have none of it. In fact, the Supreme Court too has endorsed the case of the Election Commission when it comes to the Bihar SIR exercise. So the question then is, why is the opposition deliberately derailing this exercise? The last time there was a scientific review of the electoral rolls was 20 years ago in 2003. So is India ready for a pan-India SIR? Let me first take you through what the exercise is going to look like. What are the 12 states where the SIR exercise will now take place over the next few months? Let's start off with West Bengal, Tamil Nadu, Puducherry, and Kerala. These are states that are going to polls in the next 6 months or so. These are critical states, many of them ruled by the opposition. Therefore, this is something that those chief ministers there have opposed tooth and nail. And then you have other states that are going in the next few years. You have Lakshadweep, you have Goa, Gujarat again in 2027. And then in 2028, you have the next round of assembly elections in the Hindi heartland. So you have Madhya Pradesh, Rajasthan, Chhattisgarh. 2027, Uttar Pradesh goes to polls as well. So that's again a big, in fact, the biggest state in the country, the Andaman and Nicobar Islands and Chhattisgarh. So basically, over the next 3 years, all the state assemblies that are going to polls, with the exception of Assam, because there was a reason why the Chief Election Commissioner said that they're not going to do the electoral rolls exercise in Assam. And of course, the other big state that is missing in the next 3 years is the state of Karnataka. But let's also bring you up to speed with how this ongoing SIR exercise, which, by the way, is just the 9th one since independence. So there have been only 8 special intensive reviews so far in the history of this country. The 9th one is going to start in the next few days. In fact, the last one happened more than 20 years ago between 2003 and 2004. Beginning tomorrow until the 3rd of November, the printing of the enumeration forms and the training of the block level officers, the BLOs, will take place. Then there will be the house-to-house survey that's going to take place over a month's period from the 4th of November to the 4th of December, after which the first draft of the electoral rolls will be published. Until the 8th of January, you have time for appeals. Appeals can be filed, whether it is for inclusion in the rolls or the fact that you've been excluded from the draft list. The final voter list, which will mark the completion of the SIR exercise, will be published on the 7th of February next year.
मतदाता सूची तैयार करने के लिए या मतदान कराने के लिए जिन भी चुनावी कर्मियों की आवश्यकता चुनाव आयोग को होगी, वो राज्य सरकार मुहैया करा के डेपुटेशन पर देने के लिए बाध्य है। और मुझे इसमें कोई भी संकोच नहीं है कि हर राज्य सरकारें चुनाव आयोग की तरह ही अपनी पूरी संवैधानिक दायित्व का निर्वहन करेंगी। 0 अपील्स, अर्थात बिहार की मतदाता सूची अधिकतम शुद्ध मानी जाएगी कि माननीय सुप्रीम कोर्ट की देखरेख में वहां पर नागरिकता की जांच का कार्यक्रम लगभग पूर्ण होने वाला है। ऐसी स्थिति में जो ये 24 जून का SIR का ऑर्डर था, वो पूरे देश के लिए था, वो असम पर लागू नहीं होता।
Now, there's also a legal precedent to this entire exercise going forward. In fact, the Bihar exercise had been challenged in the Supreme Court, and the Supreme Court settled that debate when the SIR exercise was being held in that state. The Supreme Court marked in its observations that SIR is a constitutional duty of the Election Commission of India, and that the timing and the methodology of the process must fall within the domain of the Election Commission. The Supreme Court also observed that the 12 documents, including Aadhaar, which any one of those you had to produce to prove your inclusion in the electoral rolls, the court had opined that that process was more than inclusive. The top court also said that omitted voters can submit their affidavits before the Election Commission for further inclusion in the draft rolls, but the poll body cannot be stopped from conducting the SIR exercise, whether in Bihar or now, across the nation. The top court also noted that the Bihar SIR process will only help the poll body to implement such exercise nationally in the future. And today, they have announced that national widening of the SIR exercise in the first tranche. A dozen states from Bengal, Tamil Nadu, Kerala, these are states that are poll-bound, to states like Uttar Pradesh, Uttarakhand, Chhattisgarh, Madhya Pradesh, Rajasthan will all be undertaking this exercise in the next few weeks.
निर्वाचन आयोग को बताना चाहिए कि बिहार में कितने बांग्लादेशी आइडेंटिफाई किए और सरकार को उसकी सूची कितने का दिया है और कितने लोग बाहर हो गए, क्योंकि एसआईआर से ये लोग विदेशी नागरिक भगाने की बात कर रहे हैं। यहाँ भी पाकिस्तानी बहुत हैं। अभी तक के गृह मंत्रालय ये नहीं बता पाया है कि कितने पाकिस्तानी हैं यहाँ छत्तीसगढ़ में।
हम ये कभी होने नहीं देंगे। एक जेन्युइन वोटर और ये जेन्युइन वोटर और जेन्युइन जो सिटीजन है वो लोग पॉलिटिकल बायस्ड तरीके से अगर उसको हैरास करने का कोई इरादा उसका है तो प्रोटेस्ट होंगे।
अभी तक तो बिहार का जो है वो रिजल्ट नहीं आया, तो इलेक्शन कमीशन को इसमें जल्दी नहीं करनी चाहिए, क्योंकि फिर ऐसा लगेगा कि इलेक्शन कमीशन जो है अपनी इंडिपेंडेंस खो के किसी पॉलिटिकल पार्टी के प्रेशर में ये काम कर रहे हैं।
All right, so the go-ahead has been given by the Supreme Court. Why is the opposition India alliance still opposed to the SIR exercise despite its successful completion in Bihar? I want to go across for a straight face-off on this. Tuin Sinha is national spokesperson of the BJP. Chitra Batan is spokesperson of the Congress party. Tuin Sinha, the contention of the opposition, and especially the states that are going to polls now, they are part of the 12 states that where the SIR exercise will begin in the next few days. Bengal, Tamil Nadu, Kerala. I'm just going to read out for you what the chief ministers of those states said. Mamata Banerjee, the Chief Minister of Bengal, says the Election Commission is trying to implement NRC via the back door. BJP is playing with fire in the name of SIR. MK Stalin says BJP is trying to erase dissenting voters through the Election Commission. What would you say to these opposition-ruled states and opposition chief ministers who seem to be tooth and nail opposed to the SIR exercise?
Well, good evening, Zirka. Good evening, everybody. A very happy Chhat Puja to you, to Chitra, and to the entire country. On this auspicious day, the country is prepared to usher in the 9th SIR, and I think the country needs to be congratulated for it. As far as the reservations of the opposition leaders are concerned, how different is it? I mean, these warnings or these obstacles being created by the opposition leaders are a milder form of Rahul Gandhi's warnings of, detonating a hydrogen bomb. If Rahul Gandhi has not succeeded and finally realizes folly and, begun to keep quiet, the other opposition leaders will also follow suit. The thing is, this kagaz nahi dikhayenge mindset needs to end. At the end of the day, the Supreme Court has validated the exercise. The Supreme Court has said it is a routine exercise which should take place across the country. Of course, the Supreme Court has also put in certain checks and balances, which is the job and the responsibility of the Supreme Court. But after all of that, 3.66 lakh voters in Bihar were found to be illegal. Now, this is an extremely underconfident opposition. My simple point is, are these 3.66 lakh illegal voters the only sure shot vote bank of the opposition parties? Now, as far as Mamata Banerjee is concerned, we have seen her on this issue of CA, on the issue of Waqf Amendment Act. It has become habitual for her to dole out warnings without any sense of what is happening in the country. So I think, SIR cannot be stopped. It's something which is going to happen in the next 3 months across the country.
Let me ask Chitra Badam this. In Bihar, when the SIR exercise was undertaken a few months ago, the opposition said, this is going to be mass disenfranchisement, logon ko nikala jayega. These are the numbers. Before the SIR exercise happened, total number of electors in Bihar was 7.89 crores. After the deletions of people who had passed away or people who had changed their addresses, left the state, 68.5 lakh deletions happened. There were 21.5 lakh additions that are new voters. Finally, 7.42 crore voters are there in Bihar. Today, the Chief Election Commissioner was asked about it. He said 7.42 crore voters of Bihar have sided with the Election Commission. Not one complaint has come saying, Mera naam delete ho gaya ya Mera naam list pe nahi hai. So then why are you still opposed to the SIR? Even the Supreme Court has given the go-ahead for SIR.
Zaga, good evening to everybody. And this is the Chhat Puja's evening, so I wish a very happy Chhat Puja to everybody. Zaga, we must understand as to the manner in which SIR was conducted in Bihar, which was a completely ambiguous process. It was a completely non-transparent, incorrect, and inconsistent process. I would like to show you some statistics. When we are talking about the deletions, Tuhin Sinha, I think you need to be updated about the number of deletions in August 1st of 2025 when the draft rule had come out. 60 lakh voters deleted, and the Supreme Court had said that when you are deleting somebody, you're supposed to give them the reason as to why you are deleting them. Was that given? Not till date. After that, when the final voter list came out, additional 3 point voters, as you have mentioned, were deleted. Were they given any reasons? No reasons given. Apart from that, 21 lakh add-on voters were included in the list. 5 lakh 17,216 voters were having gibberish values. 4 lakh voters approximately having house number 0 and null values. Is this the in which SIR is going to happen across all states? And when you talk about the complaints, let me just remind you that not a single complaint can be put to the ECI because not a single notice Election Commission has gone to any of the voters who have been deleted. So absolutely, how can you file for an appeal or you can complain about it when you have not gotten a notice? So you are deleting almost 68 lakh voters, 69 lakh voters without giving them the notice. So
no, but Chitra, if you go to the draft, ma'am, if you go to the draft rolls and if you don't find your name there, people had 1 month notice to either go to the Election Commission office or to go to their website and update and challenge it. Now, my question is also the Chief Election Commissioner is saying, Madam, 7.42 crore voters of Bihar are with him, and nobody has complained. Neither political party representatives have complained, nor people have complained saying, my name is missing.
It is being sent to the voters. That is where lies the giving. That is where lies the trickery. You can file a complaint only when you receive a notice. When the voters have not received any notice of deletion, how will the voters file the complaint?
Even the Supreme Court said that why are political parties not coming out with people whose names have been deleted from the list? Supreme Court said this.
People who were declared dead, I would want to remind you, Zaga, people who were declared dead were invited by leader of opposition Rahul Ji to have a cup of tea. So this is the kind of ambiguity done through SIR. I am saying one cannot file a complaint because no notice has been received by the voter.
Okay.
How can they file a complaint?
Tuhin Sinha, out of this 68.5 lakh voters whose names were deleted, a large number of them were either dead, passed away, or they had migrated out of Bihar, or they had double voter ID cards. The Election Commission to date has not revealed the exact number of how many so-called foreigners or illegal immigrants were removed from the voter list. So then what was the point of this exercise?
The job of the Election Commission is to ensure that genuine Indian voters vote. Subsequently, the local police will carry out investigation and figure out how many of these are illegal migrants. Point number one. Point number two, on 25th August, the Supreme Court had passed some very scathing observations on the dubious role of opposition BLAs. Number one, they had not filed any official complaint. The Supreme Court had given a calculation that, you have these number of MLAs in the entire state. If you actually get into the act, it will take about 5 to 6 days for you to complete the entire process. But the entire BLAs of these opposition parties were used to spread canards and to manufacture false stories of a Ranju Devi, of a Minta Devi, which we all saw were farcical stories to propagate their agenda. Finally, this opposition still does not understand the meaning of House Zero, which is something which has been explained time and again by the CEC, by the Election Commission. House Zero is a number given to, those people who are staying in temporary accommodations, migrant workers. Of course, people staying in Lutyens' houses all their life will not understand the pain of those workers.
Okay.
But once again, in the first week of October, since you have followed the entire case, the Supreme Court equally pulled up Prashant Bhushan and the other lawyer for producing false affidavit with regard to the name of people who are missing out. and
Okay.
very categorically said,
So-
are you representing ghosts over here?
Chitra
So these
Batam,
people have been called out
these
so
are
often.
the observations of the Supreme Court of India. SIR is a constitutional duty of the Election Commission. Timing and methodology of process fall under the EC's domain. 12 documents, including Aadhaar, have made the process inclusive. Omitted voters can always submit affidavits before the Election Commission for inclusion of their names and cannot stop the EC from conducting SIR exercise across the nation. This is what the Supreme Court said in its last orders that it passed in September, giving the go-ahead not just for Bihar SIR but for nationwide SIR. Why is the opposition still opposed to it?
We are objecting to the fact that whether SIR can be conducted or not. Okay, what our objections were? We objected to the ill timing. Why? Because Bihar was subjected to floods. It was going through a very painful phase during which the SIR was launched. After which we have seen the manner in which the ambiguous process was completely carried out. The fake BLOs using fake IDs, using fake signatures of people. The enumerators
Okay,
never reached
that
the
process
people.
is over. Now for nationwide SIR, now there are no floods, now there is nothing. Why don't you allow
But then there are
nationwide
no lessons
SIR?
learned. There are no lessons learned. That was expected by the Supreme Court of India. You tell me what are the lessons learned? Those 68.5 lakh voters whose names have been deleted, did they get any reason as to why the names were deleted?
Ma'am, they are either
That is what
dead
the question
or
is.
they have migrated or they have double voter ID cards, a bulk of them. And I asked Tuhin Sinha how many of them were illegal immigrants, how many of them are foreigners. He says that's not the job of the Election Commission.
Then out of it, 17 lakh voters are women. 17 lakh voters are women who are deleted from that respective list. You are saying 17 lakh voters are either dead or are migrated. Is that how it is?
No, these figures have been clarified by the Election Commission. No, one second, madam. Out of the 68.5 lakh voters, the Election Commission has clarified a majority of them have either passed away or left Bihar for good or have double voter ID cards. They have said this very clearly.
So have they given to individual people as to what the reason for that? This is a very reason. So everybody falls in that category. Either you have a double voter ID or you have passed away. Is that how it is?
Okay, now tell me, what is your opposition to a nationwide SIR exercise? Bihar ka jo ho gaya. But what about the other states that are coming up?
The manner in which SIR is being carried out in Bihar, why it's carried out just to benefit BJP because the city has got a blanket immunity. And it is just behaving like a puppet in the hands of BJP to benefit it. That is all we are saying.
No, but how, please
Please
explain, madam, please explain to our viewers, how are you saying that these 68.5 lakh voters who've been deleted are all opposition voters? How do you know that?
We are not saying whether they are opposition voters or not. They are the citizens of this country.
So how is it benefiting
We are
BJP?
fighting for
They could be
every citizen
BJP
of
voters
this country,
also.
Whether it's a BJP voter or be it a Congress or anybody else's voter.
You
We
know-
are talking about a general citizen of this country.
Tuhin, one difference though between Bihar and the other states that are due now for SIR is a bulk of these states happen to be ruled by the opposition, Bengal, Tamil Nadu, Kerala, etc., where the chief ministers no less have said we will not cooperate. The BLOs at the end of the day are state government employees or employees of the local panchayat. If they start not cooperating, then you cannot carry out this exercise. After all, the Election Commission does not have a police force to enforce
Zaka,
its writ.
As you have seen on your show today and in the last 3 months, never before has the country seen such brazen support for illegal voters as it has seen in the last 3 months under Rahul Gandhi's leadership. On 18th September, he held a press conference based on completely farcical facts. The Alan story, he had to fact check himself within 3 to 4 hours. And his tweet said different stories. So first of all, the Congress party owes an apology to the country for constantly, please don't barge in. The Congress party owes an unconditional apology. Don't barge in like this. Every evening I have to train Congress spokespersons to wait for their chance.
We don't
First
need
of all,
anything from you. Keep it yourself. again,
Okay, madam, one at a time, please, ma'am,
First of all,
one at a time, one at a time, please.
owes
Yeah.
an unconditional apology to the country for continuously misleading the country on the issue of SIR in the last 3 months. Number two, like I mentioned, Mamata Banerjee has this old habit of threatening, violence, of holding law to ransom. At one point of time, Mehbooba Mufti used to do that, and you've seen where Mehbooba Mufti is today.
Okay.
My humble word of caution to Mamata Banerjee is don't play with law. We will ensure that only genuine citizens of this country vote in next year's Bengal elections, and there is no way TMC will be able to stop this.
All right, we'll leave it at that. Thank you very much to
That's
Insina,
why
Chitra Batam for joining us. Let's see how this plays out in the other states. I suspect it might not be as smooth an affair as was seen in Bihar because many of these states that are poll bound happen to be opposition states. Let's also talk about one such state. Tamil Nadu is going to polls in the next 3 or 4 months. And there the big story has been around actor turned politician Vijay, who met with the families of the Karur stampede victims today. He met them at a private hotel in Mahabalipuram, which is of course a short distance away from Chennai. The meeting comes exactly a month after 41 people died in that stampede in Karur. Over 200 people took part in the meeting that happened today with Vijay. There were private meetings with individual families that were held by the TVK chief, many of which we are given to understand turned emotional. Vijay apparently broke down when he saw the pictures of some of the victims. This is that private resort in Mahabalipuram, right on the outskirts of Chennai, where he had this private meeting. Now, Vijay has been facing a lot of flack as to why the victims had to come to him and why not the other way around. Why didn't he go to the victims? But apparently during the meeting, he assured that he will take full responsibility for the medical and educational expenses of the families of those who lost their loved ones in the stampede that happened in Karur. He's also promised to arrange employment opportunities for the families of those who lost their lives. But like I said, the criticism is, why didn't he go to where the victims were rather than bringing them to where he was?
நீங்க மீட் பண்ணீங்களா சார்?
மீட் பண்ணிட்டேங்க மேடம்.
என்ன நடந்தது சார்? அவர் என்ன சொன்னாரு?
அவர் மன்னிப்பு கேட்டாருங்க. அப்புறம் வந்துட்டு உங்களுக்கு என்ன ஹெல்ப் வேணுமோ நாங்க பண்ணி தரோம் அப்படின்னாங்க. உங்களுக்கு என்ன ஹெல்ப் வேண்டாம்னு தான் மேடம் சொல்லியிருக்கோம்.
சரி.
அவரும் அழுதுட்டாருங்க. பாப்பா போட்டோல பார்த்துட்டு அவரும் அழுதுட்டாருங்க.
இந்த சந்திப்பு நீங்க எப்படி பாக்குறீங்க சார்?
கரூர்ல மீட்டிங் மண்டபம் பர்மிஷன் கொடுத்து இது பண்ணியிருந்தாங்கன்னா வச்சுக்கோங்க மேடம். கரூர்ல ஒரு போலீஸ் பர்மிஷன் கொடுத்து கரூர்லயே ஒரு மண்டபம் மாதிரி கொடுத்து அரேஞ்ச் பண்ணியிருந்தாங்கன்னா கூட இவ்வளவுதான் நாங்க பாத்துருக்க முடியாது, பக்கத்துல பாத்துருக்க முடியாது.
ஓகே.
இங்க வந்துட்டு கிட்டத்தட்ட வந்து எங்களோட கிட்டத்தட்ட ஒரு 1/2 மணி நேரம் வீட்டுக்கு வந்து எப்படி பேசுவாரோ அந்த மாதிரி தான் பேசினாரு. ஒவ்வொரு ஃபேமிலி தனியா வர சொல்லி ஒவ்வொரு ரூம்லயும் அவரு எங்க பாப்பா போட்டோலாம் பார்த்து அழுது கிட்டத்தட்ட 1/2 மணி நேரம் ஆச்சு. இப்ப அவர் கரூர் அவரும் அவர் கூட இருக்கவங்களும் வந்துட்டு வந்தாங்கன்னா மேக்ஸிமம் ஒரு 10 நிமிஷம் எல்லா சொல்ல முடிஞ்சிருக்கும்.
சார் அவர் அழுதாரா சார்?
ஆமாங்க மேடம். மண்டி போட்டு எங்க அம்மா காலை பிடிச்சாருங்க.
காலில் விழுந்து மன்னிப்பு கேட்டாரா?
காலில் விழுல, அவரு முட்டி போட்டு எங்க அம்மா காலை பிடிச்சாரு. இந்த மாதிரி நான் வந்துட்டு உங்களுக்கு என்ன ஹெல்ப் பண்ண முடியும் பண்ணி தரேன்.
So that is one of the victims' families, one of their family members speaking to my colleague Purnima. They attended today's meeting with Vijay. But Vijay, like I said, is facing criticism because many are questioning why he didn't go to Karur to meet with the victims, instead getting the victims' families to Chennai and meet them in a private resort. That has, of course, armed the DMK, especially because they're claiming that this is Vijay's politics of convenience from the comfort of his home. Vijay had earlier announced his plan to visit Karur in person. For over a month, he said he was waiting for police permission, but ultimately his party said that the logistical issues did not work out and therefore they had to change the venue. They were also worried that there could be some kind of a stampede if he were to go there again, and also worried about some of the local politicians there in Karur who might try to usurp this particular event when it happened and if it happened in Karur. The flip-flop, though, has given more ammunition to Vijay's rivals, both the DMK and the I.D.I.A. In fact, Purnima was outside that private resort in Mahabalipuram all through the day today, and this is the report that she filed from there.
Exactly a month after the Karur stampede that killed 41 and left over 100 injured, today Tamaraga Vetri Karagam Chief Vijay met with the grieving families. Except for one family, the rest of the families had travelled from Karur to Mahabalipuram, and they are meeting Vijay in this resort in Mahabalipuram. 50 rooms were booked for the families. 255 people have come. This also includes some of them who are injured. Sources we spoke to who met Vijay say that Vijay had apologized to them and also said that he will take care of the expenses, whether it's employment or whether it's education. He will take care of the expenses of these families, and also assured them that he and his party will stand by them. And he also apologized to them for not being able to travel to Karur. This is something that we got from those who met Vijay. However, the criticism that TBK and Vijay face is this: why did Vijay not go to Karur? Why did he make the grieving family members travel all the way from Karur to Mahabalipuram?
I want to go across to JVC Sriram, who's an author and political analyst. I want to ask you about this whole thing. You know, it's been exactly a month since the Karur stampede. Today, Vijay met with some of the families. This was at a private resort in Mahabalipuram. He met them individually. He says he couldn't go to Karur because he feared that another stampede might happen. The fact that the victims had to come and meet him and not that he went to meet the victims, what does that say to you, Mr. Sriram?
So I think, he's a confused person. I don't think he has got the right advisors behind him. He could have actually traveled to Karur and asked only those families to come and visit him in a particular location, or he could have gone to their houses. Security could have been given. So I don't know. And I think he has been time and again, he is being wrongly advised by the set of people. He doesn't have the right set of people who can give him the right information.
So up until this stampede happened, it seemed like Vijay's political graph was only going on the upswing. Do you think this Karur incident and whatever's happened in this past month has dented Vijay's image and his political fortunes?
I think, I always felt that Vijay was getting a lot of support. We could even hear around 30% in some places, but 20% is a very fair assessment. But I always felt that without organization, lacking an organization, and just because of the star power and charisma, and without proper candidates, he would not be in a position to get even to double digits. And unfortunately, this incident happened. And this only accelerated his fall. It has not, done anything. It's only accelerated. Yeah, he is gaining some sympathy, but that's a different story altogether. But without organization, without cadre, without proper candidates, it would be next to impossible to make a huge difference in a state like Tamil Nadu.
So what happens to all this chatter, and I'm sure you must have been following this as well, there's a chatter about ADMK and him coming together, some kind of election understanding either before or after the polls. I think EPS also made some comments recently. Do you think it's possible that there'll be an ADMK Vijay understanding for the elections?
Anything is possible in politics. But personally, if you ask me, I am of a firm opinion that Vijay has created enough of anti-incumbency. He has probably unearthed anti-incumbency better than anybody else. As a result of which, Vijay's votes, which he is getting, is mostly from the DMK, minority, women, and also from youth, which is from NTK, and also Dalit. So those people would not be willing to vote for an AIADMK-led government. And most importantly, Vijay's fan base, his core supporters are his fans. And they would like to see Vijay as the chief minister, and they would not like to see Edappadi Panichami as the chief minister. And let us always understand, Tamil Nadu elections happen in a way where the voters want to send a clear message to the respective parties. I think if the message is that the DMK government must go, then the alternative is AIADMK. That's what Tamil Nadu is all about. I don't think it is broken till now. And if they decide that no, we want DMK government to continue, they will vote for DMK. There is a small section of say around 15 to 20% who have this romantic idea of a change, which is welcome actually, but they should look for a right change. And they might seek all these things, but at the end of the day, conversion into votes is going to be a very big challenge. And I don't think, Karur has not done anything good for Vijay.
Okay, J.V. Sriram, we'll leave it at that. Thank you very much for joining us. J.V. Sriram, their political analyst, on what happens to Vijay now, a month after the Karur incident, and today he met with some of the victims' families. Now, let's shift focus to Karnataka, where there appears to be no end in sight to the power tussle that's going on between the top two. Days after Chief Minister's son, Dr. Yatindra, announced that Siddaramaia's successor, because his father was at the fag end of his career, one of the possible successors happens to be Satish Jarkiholi, the leader from Belgaum. Siddaramaiya, the chief minister, has now broken his silence on the issue, and he spoke exclusively at the News 18 Rising Karnataka Summit today in Bangalore. Siddaramaiya said that his supporters really want him to contest the 2028 election. However, he is yet to decide on that. Meanwhile, Karnataka Home Minister G. Parameshwara has also thrown his hat in the ring, saying that his supporters want him to take over as the chief minister. One post, many contenders, and a never-ending fight. That seems to be the story of the Karnataka Congress. Later this evening, we also caught up with the Deputy Chief Minister, D.K. Shivkumar, who's the man who's locked in this political tussle with Siddaramaiya, the Chief Minister, to get his thoughts. But first, let's play out what Siddaramaiya said at the News 18 Karnataka event.
2028ಕ್ಕೆ ಚುನಾವಣೆಗೆ ಸ್ಪರ್ಧೆ ಮಾಡಲ್ಲ ಅಂತ ಹೇಳಿದ್ದೆ. ಬಟ್ ಎಲ್ಲ ನಮ್ಮ ಸ್ನೇಹಿತರು ಹಿತೈಷಿಗಳು ಎಲ್ಲರೂ ಕೂಡ ನೀವು 2028 ಚುನಾವಣೆಗೆ ನಿಲ್ಲೇಬೇಕು ಅಂತೇಳಿ ಒತ್ತಾಯ ಮಾಡ್ತಾ ಇದ್ದಾರೆ.
ಅದಾದ್ಮೇಲೆ ಒಂದ್ 2-3 ಖಾತೆ ಆಯ್ತು, ಒಂದು 4-5 ಸಾರಿ ಗೆದ್ರೆ ಮುಖ್ಯಮಂತ್ರಿ ಆಗಬೇಕು ಅಂತ ಸ್ವಾಭಾವಿಕವಾಗಿ ಆಸೆ ಬರಬಹುದು. ಇದೆಲ್ಲ ನಾನು ತೀರ್ಮಾನ ಮಾಡೋದಲ್ಲ, ಇದೆಲ್ಲ ನಮ್ಮ ವರಿಷ್ಠರು ಹೈಕಮಾಂಡ್ನವರು ತೀರ್ಮಾನ ಮಾಡ್ತಾರೆ. ಈಗ ಮುಖ್ಯಮಂತ್ರಿಗಳು ಹೇಳಿದ್ರಲ್ಲ ಆಗಲೇ,
announcing a retirement and then subsequently deciding to contest the elections. That seems to be a bit of a recurring theme throughout Siddaramaia's career. In fact, in June 2013, he first announced that he would not contest elections after 2018 upon turning 70. But then he went on to contest those polls in 2018. He in fact also lost the Chamundeshwari seat, which is his traditional seat in Mysore. He again declared that he will not be contesting elections anymore. Despite his earlier declarations, Siddaramaiya once again contested the 2023 Karnataka Assembly elections. He was elected from the Varuna constituency, paving the way for his return as Chief Minister of the state. But the implications of this power tussle between the Chief Minister and his deputy are many. For one, the ongoing leadership dispute is a source of internal distraction and undermines the smooth functioning of the government. The visible infighting not just weakens the party but also provides ammunition to the opposition. The conflict has the potential to alienate key caste groups, particularly the Vokaligas, who view D.K. Shivkumar as their leader, as their tall community leader. It could also risk fracturing the party's support base. Public spats damage the Congress's image as a unified party, further eroding voter confidence. And the factional infighting within the Congress in other states, whether it's in Telangana, Himachal Pradesh, it all suggests that there's a broad pattern now of internal power struggles and power games, and that tests the authority of the central leadership of the Congress party. The visible disunity within a key member of the India bloc could also create negative narrative for the broader opposition alliance. Meanwhile, D.K. Shivkumar was also there at the News 18 Kannada event, where he made a very rare and vocal backing for Chief Minister Siddaramaiya amidst this leadership tussle. D.K. Shivkumar says that he's going to put up a united front, not just for 2028. He said that we need Siddaramaiya as the Chief Minister and for him to lead, if his health permits, even after 2028, because the Chief Minister, remember, in the morning had said that there is a desire by a section of his supporters for him to contest 2028, but he has not made up his mind. D.K. Shivkumar joining the issue and saying that we want Siddaramaiya to continue not just until 2028, but even before that. He spoke to my colleague Harish. Here's an excerpt of that conversation.
Question. The Chief Minister has spoken about leadership change, saying he'll abide by what the High Command says. And he's also saying he's open to the idea of contesting 2028. There is pressure from party men and others. And earlier in the day, he said that if the High Command says yes, he will continue and finish his full term, sir. How do you view this, sir?
See, we need the Chief Minister, not even 28, we need further also, till health permits all of us in public life. We need all his support. We need all of us to come back to the power. So he is a man with seasoned. He has been the leader of the opposition. He has been the deputy CM. He has been the CM for a very long time. We need his support. Without his blessing and cooperation, Congress party will find difficult. Of course, we'll all work together and see the success of the Congress government in Karnataka.
No change in November?
See, whatever the party high command, whatever he has said, I stand by him. We'll all work together.
Thank you, sir. Thanks a lot for speaking to CNN News 18. There you go.
So that's D.K. Shivkumar, the Deputy Chief Minister, saying that we will abide by whatever the party high command decides. But he's also throwing his weight behind Siddaramaiah, that he wants, health permitting, Siddaramaiah to continue not just in 2028 but beyond as well. But we haven't heard the last word on that. We'll see. Maybe after the Bihar elections, we will get some kind of a turn in the political story there in Karnataka. Talking about Bihar, let's move on to that state where Lalganj, which is the bastion of the jailed Bahubali Munna Shukla, his return from the UK Oxford studied daughter Shivani Shukla is now taking up the family legacy forward. She's contesting on an RJD ticket. But will her father's past criminal record affect her chances? Pallavi Ghosh is there on the ground.
छठी मैया बरत तोहार छठी मैया बरत तोहार.
You come to Lalganj and how do you not meet Shivani Shukla? Thank you so much for speaking to CNN News 18. You know, first of all, everyone is making a big issue about the fact, particularly the BJP, the Home Minister, that a return of Tejasvi Yadav as CM would mean a return to a dark days of Lalu Prasad Yadav. Your father's name is constantly being cited also in that connection. How do you want to react to that, and does it make you feel bad?
Would not like to actually react on it because it's just a matter of understanding that as day passes and as year passes and as a generation passes, there is always a generational gap, and understanding differences there. And if they want to continue with that, then that's their old thought. Not Tejasvi Yadav's fault. He means well. He wants to do well. And I do not certainly and firmly believe that just because something did or might have went in a wrong side earlier, it doesn't certainly mean that it will still go on like that. And if somebody wants to bring a change, why don't you try that?
So Tejasvi Yadav is bringing that change.
Yes, isn't he? Haven't you heard him? Have you ever heard him just saying anything blatantly about anybody else without any certain facts or figures? He doesn't. He never comments anything wrong about anybody, but rather he always focuses on the work, what he wants to do, what he wants to bring in the changes.
If Tejasvi Yadav is coming out of the shadows of his father in that sense, saying that I'm a different generation, is that what you are also trying to do, to come out of the legacy of your father? And whatever kind of a controversy surrounded him?
Ma'am, what does legacy mean? Legacy means when it continues, right? Has it continued, ma'am?
This is News 18 Network. India's largest news network.
When he said that the state governments will also have to cooperate with the Election Commission on the SIR issue, and I think that was a hint being made at the West Bengal government where it's become a political issue. In fact, taking on the Election Commission, in some cases kind of attacking the EC officials, that seems to have been the hallmark of much of the attempts which has been made by the SIR. So they're saying that, you know, the entire purpose of this SIR is not because we want to target any one political party or any one particular state, and even if they happen to be in the opposition. He made that point when he said that, there has been a lot of political comments and I don't want to comment on that. So what is the point over here is that the entire purpose of this revision is to ensure that one, people's names are there on the voters list, those who are eligible for it. And second, if there's a multiplicity where, one person is registered in 2-3 addresses or many people are registered to one address, those who even expired, those who have got married into another family and migrated to another states, their names are also not duplicated onto a voters list. And this is an exercise which has to be carried on periodically. So where is the politics in all of this? But as you pointed out, Ayushman, I can see through the list that there are states like Kerala, West Bengal, and those are the states where, and Tamil Nadu, of course, where all three of them are happening to be poll-bound states for 2026. If this is one issue which really brought the entire India bloc together, which we saw in the monsoon session of Parliament, it was the SIR. So we'll have to wait to see, one, during the winter session of Parliament, if this is going to be taken up yet again, another issue. And the second important thing is that does the India bloc now plan to unite once again to come out with a campaign or movement across the country against this fresh SIR?
Absolutely, because the states involved were quite outliers when it comes to multiple issues that would hit the India bloc, the DMK as well as the TMC. We always saw issue-based support in having a united front with the India bloc. But could this unite those kind of power players when it comes to India politics? And Kamalika, coming to you on that point, the TMC, so many questions being posed about West Bengal to the Chief Election Commissioner. Currently, we're also learning that the Bengal CEO has called for an all-party meeting for the smooth functioning of the SIR exercise. What are the rumblings that you are learning from the state of West Bengal, which has pretty much declared war against the special intensive revision?
Oh, it's rumbling all around. Let me first tell you that as we pointed out, tomorrow is the day when there will be all-party meeting in ECI, where right now I am standing, Bengal Chief Electoral Officer office. Here, all-party meeting has been called off by the Bengal CEO. So all the political parties will come and obviously they will actually present their version of it. But clearly, this is though most of the questions were regarding West Bengal, and the CEC Gyanesh Kumar, he said that the law and order is a state subject and obviously this type of situation will not arise. But politically, clearly, the state's ruling party, they are opposing SIR. None other than the Chief Minister has said that SIR is a sort of NRC. All these types of statements have been on. And as the SIR has just been rolled out, has just been declared, it's quite clear that the Trinamool Congress, nowhere they are going to change their stand. They are saying that if bona fide voters' names are deleted, they are going to go and do everything for that. So they have already lined up rallies and meetings. They will definitely attend this all-party meeting and will actually try to weigh the water, what's actually happening. But the perception from the ruling party is clear. They are going to oppose it at any cost. On the other hand, the big development always is also on the other side that the BJP, they are absolutely supporting the entire process of SIR. They are on their point that 1 crore, more than 1 crore voters' names will be deleted, and there it will be proved that West Bengal, a lot of voters are from outsiders. There are a lot of fake voters and all these things. So the political war...
The United States and China have announced that they've reached a basic consensus on a potential trade deal just days before US President Donald Trump is all set to meet his Chinese counterpart Xi Jinping. In fact, going into these talks, Xi Jinping feels he has the upper hand in the negotiations with Trump, but it's America's reputation too that is going to be under intense scrutiny. So what will be the outcome of this meeting? And if there is a grand trade deal announced between China and America, what does that mean for India? I dig a little deeper. When Air Force One landed in Malaysia on Sunday, US President Donald Trump began a tour that will bring him face-to-face with China's top leader, Xi Jinping. It comes at a time when the Asia-Pacific region has been increasingly reshaped by the competition between Beijing and Washington. In this new kind of superpower rivalry, Trump and Xi are offering contrasting visions for how the world should be ordered. And that has a great many consequences for chip factories in South Korea, car assembly lines in Vietnam and the contested waters of the South China Sea. But most importantly, it will completely alter the status of the self-governed island of Taiwan. Now, unlike in the Cold War, the battlegrounds for power and influence are centered not just around troops or warships, but also on supply chains and on data centers. Governments across Asia are being increasingly pressurized to pick a side between America and China. Countries that are caught in the middle, whether it's Thailand or Singapore or Malaysia, Indonesia, even India, must weigh how to benefit from this competition without being held hostage.
I have a good relationship with, as you know, President Xi, very good. We're going to be meeting. We'll have a good meeting. I'm pretty sure we're going to have a great meeting, maybe a great meeting. But I think we're going to do some good business.
Countries in Asia do not want this to be a binary trade-off, an us versus them kind of strategic binary which George W. Bush had forced much of the world into 20 years ago. But the world today is a very different place. China is no longer just a rising power. It thinks, and not without reason, it is on par with America. America, long considered a retreating power, still has some aces up its sleeve, but Trump doesn't want to use any of that just yet. He just wants to cut a deal with Xi Jinping and leave the rest of Asia to fend for themselves. That is the opposite of what countries in Asia have experienced in the last 20 years. They were happy to have Washington and Beijing both woo them so that they could play one off the other. That might have been easier in the past when the United States was more engaged with Asia. When an American president visited, it would often be a way of reassuring America's allies and friends in the region that Washington had their backs, particularly against the hegemonic behavior of China. But Trump now wants none of that.
Message to the nations of Southeast Asia is that the United States is with you 100%, and we intend to be a strong partner and friend for many generations to come. 1 year ago, we were in a different position, but now we're in the best position we've ever been. And I really do. I say it's the golden age of America, golden age of the United States. Together we'll create incredible prosperity for the nations on both sides of the Pacific Ocean and to seize new opportunities for all of our people.
But as Trump touched down in Malaysia, America's commitments to its friends and partners in the region remain an open question. It's strained by resentment, whether it's on tariffs or even the uncertainty of future American troop deployments in Asia. Trump will also visit Japan on Monday and Tuesday. He will meet the new Japanese Prime Minister Sanae Takaichi, who is the first woman Prime Minister of Japan. And later in the week, he will travel to South Korea, where for the first time in his second term, Trump will meet with Xi Jinping of China. Beijing has sought to take advantage of the uncertainty in Asia by offering its own trade deals and investments to all its neighbors. At the same time, it is also staking a wider claim to the contested waters of the South and East China Seas. China's contention is it is the only superpower in the region, in fact in the world, to be able to confront the Trump administration. It has warned the Asian continent of consequences if they choose to join Washington in restricting trade with China. But it's going to be difficult for Asian governments, even US allies like South Korea and Japan, not to feel like bystanders when Trump and Xi meet on the sidelines of the APEC summit in South Korea. The global economy hangs in the balance as the two leaders of the two biggest economies hold talks which could either end this round of trade war or it could begin the next round of trade war. Trump wants Xi Jinping to roll back on China's new export controls on rare earths. He also wants China to restart purchase of American soybeans and also do more to crack down on Chinese-made fentanyl, which is finding its way into America. Most importantly, Trump wants to come away looking like he's scored a deal with Xi Jinping. That would bolster his image as a strongman deal maker. On the other side is Xi Jinping, who wants Trump to drop his tariffs on Chinese goods. He wants greater access to American technology, whether it's semiconductors, or loosen restrictions on Chinese investments into the United States. But the icing on the cake would be if Trump were to signal that he's open to reducing Washington's support for Taiwan. America so far has maintained strategic ambiguity on the question of Taiwan. Trump may altogether drop support for Taiwan.
You are there meeting with your Chinese counterparts ahead of President Trump's planned meeting with President Xi of China. Mr. Secretary, do you believe that China is ready to make a trade deal?
Kristen, I can tell you they are, because we just finished 2 days of negotiations and we've created a framework for the two leaders to discuss on Thursday in Korea.
Xi Jinping is likely going into these talks with Trump feeling that China has the upper hand. New export rules on rare earths have given him powerful leverage. America is still years away from finding suitable alternatives, even though Trump did sign a few deals with Thailand and Cambodia this week. He also unveiled a $3 billion rare earth deal with Australia last week, but none of that is going to deter China, which has a stranglehold on rare earth processing in the world. It has weaponized rare earths in its trade war with America. Markets went into a tailspin and Trump announced retaliatory tariffs up to 100% starting November 1. But now, both sides seem to want to pull back. The trade war with America has illustrated that China will weaponize trade, and that too at the drop of a hat if it serves its own interest. And if they can do this with Washington, the biggest economy in the world, then they wouldn't think twice before throwing Malaysia or Singapore or Vietnam under the bus. So the message from the Trump-Xi meeting is going to be this: has the number 2 power in the world now arrived on the high table? And is the number 1 power in the world willing to retreat and accommodate the number 2 player? All right, so if there's going to be a US-China deal, as is being expected when Trump and Xi Jinping meet later this week, what does that mean for the global economy? What does it mean particularly for India? Because India still hasn't clinched its own trade deal with America. And also Prime Minister Modi deciding not to go to ASEAN, instead addressing it virtually. Let's talk about both of these to Dr. Brahma Chalani, Strategic Affairs expert. Thank you very much, Dr. Brahma Chalani, for joining us. So first things first, let's deal with the US-China situation. Trump is very hopeful that there will be a deal. I think his Treasury Secretary has said there's pretty much a framework now for when Trump and Xi Jinping meet later this week. If they clinch that deal, if there is going to be a US-China deal announced later this week, what does it mean for the global economy, and what does it mean particularly for India?
For the global economy, at least for the global stock markets, such a deal would be very welcome, because these tensions between the US and China, in fact, there's an ongoing trade war between the two, has roiled the world markets. So a trade deal of whatever kind that emerges from the negotiations will calm the markets. But we should not forget that Trump blows hot and cold on China. One day he's quoting China, other day he's really talking about China being a major threat to the US. So we have seen this pattern. And even if a trade deal were to emerge from the Xi Jinping-Trump meeting, Trump's intrinsic hostility toward China will not evaporate. So we will see a pattern in the months and the rest of the term of Trump, where he seeks to both quote China as well as contain China.
But what does it mean for India if Xi Jinping and Trump were to announce this big deal, and the tariffs on Chinese goods would come down to 20% or 30%, whatever it is that they arrive at? What does it mean for India? Because India has not clinched its own trade deal with America just yet.
Well, there are two things here. First, that even when nations clinch trade deals with Washington, it does not result in a significant lowering of tariffs. In fact, as this week has shown, this last weekend, that even when countries like Malaysia, Thailand, and Cambodia clinched trade deals with Washington, their 19% tariffs did not come down even by 1% point. So a trade deal by itself doesn't mean much. We have seen how Japan is having second thoughts about its trade deal with Washington. So it's in a way good that India is taking its own time to stretch the negotiations and reach a trade deal that would not be lopsided as Trump wants. Trump wants a trade deal with India on his terms. So the longer it takes for India to reach a trade deal, the better it will be. I'm more concerned about the differential negotiating strategy of India, that India is negotiating under duress, with Washington having weaponized tariffs and secondary sanctions against India. Normally, when you go to any negotiations, you should be building counter leverage. But New Delhi has sought not to build any counter leverage. It has tried to be the nice boy in the negotiations with Washington.
And finally, the Prime Minister, deciding not to go to ASEAN, instead address it virtually. What do you make of that?
Well, that raises a question as to how many international meetings Modi will miss so as to keep a distance from the mercurial Trump. Modi did not go to the UN General Assembly special session. He did not go to the ASEAN summit, even though with this ASEAN summit, there is this India-ASEAN summit every year.
Yeah.
So Modi skipped both the ASEAN summit and the India-ASEAN summit, which wasn't really good because, after all, we should not forget that some time back, India had actually hosted all the ASEAN leaders at its Republic Day,
correct,
underscoring how India values the relationship with ASEAN. India has a free trade agreement with ASEAN and considers itself to be closely aligned with ASEAN on many issues. And therefore, for Prime Minister Modi to skip the ASEAN summit, largely because he wanted to keep distance from Trump, while in one way it was good because you know how Trump is, quite temperamental and his loose tongue. So avoiding him may have been a good idea, yet at the same time, skipping the meeting didn't send a good diplomatic message to ASEAN.
All right, Dr. Brahmacharani, we'll leave it at that. Thank you very much. A pleasure, as always, speaking with you, sir. Thank you.
Co-presented by... This is News 18 Network. India's largest news network.
When he said that the state governments will also have to cooperate with the Election Commission on the SIR issue, and I think that was a hint being made at the West Bengal government where it's become a political issue. In fact, taking on the Election Commission, in some cases kind of attacking the EC officials, that seems to have been the hallmark of much of the attempts which has been made by the SIR. So they're saying that, the entire purpose of this SIR is not because we want to target any one political party or any one particular state, and even if they happen to be in the opposition. He made that point when he said that, there has been a lot of political comments and I don't want to comment on that. So what is the point over here is that the entire purpose of this revision is to ensure that one, people's names are there on the voters list, those who are eligible for it. And second, if there's a multiplicity where, one person is registered in 2-3 addresses or many people are registered to one address, those who even expired, those who have got married into another family and migrated to another states, their names are also not duplicated onto a voters list, and this is an exercise which has to be carried on periodically. So where is the politics in all of this? But as you pointed out, Ayushman, I can see through the list that there are states like Kerala, West Bengal, and those are the states where, and Tamil Nadu, of course, where all three of them are happening to be poll-bound states for 2026. If this is one issue which really brought the entire India bloc together, which we saw in the monsoon session of Parliament, it was a SIR. So we'll have to wait to see, one, during the winter session of Parliament, if this is going to be taken up yet again, another issue. And the second important thing is that does the India bloc now plan to unite once again to come out with a campaign or movement across the country against this fresh SIR?
Absolutely, because the states involved were quite outliers when it comes to multiple issues that would hit the India bloc, the DMK as well as the TMC. We always saw issue-based support in having a united front with the India bloc. But could this unite those kind of power players when it comes to India politics? And Kamalika, coming to you on that point, the TMC, so many questions being posed about West Bengal to the Chief Election Commissioner. Currently, we're also learning that the Bengal CEO has called for an all-party meeting for the smooth functioning of the SIR exercise. What are the rumblings that you are learning from the state of West Bengal, which has pretty much declared war against the special intensive revision?
Oh, it's rumbling all around. Let me first tell you that as we pointed out, tomorrow is the day when there will be all-party meeting in ECI, where right now I am standing, Bengal Chief Electoral Officer office. Here, all-party meeting has been called off by the Bengal CEO. So all the political parties will come, and obviously they will actually present their version of it. But clearly, this is, though, most of the questions were regarding West Bengal, and the CEC Gyanesh Kumar, he said that the law and order is a state subject, and obviously this type of situation will not arise. But politically, clearly, the state's ruling party, they are opposing SIR. None other than the Chief Minister has said that SIR is a sort of NR.
Viewers, this is a big issue. It concerns our children. Most of us are parents, and we will have an opinion on this. After pushing for gender-neutral bathrooms in schools and transgender participation in girls' sports, the woke ecosystem has a new frontier. It now wants 16-year-olds to be legally free to have consensual sex. A petition before the Supreme Court seeks to lower the age of consent from 18 to 16. The court will hear it in about 2 weeks. I.N.D.I.A, counsel for the petitioner, has said blanket criminalization infringes upon the constitutional rights of teenagers to personal autonomy and dignity and lacks empirical or rational justification. Under the current law, the POCSO Act of 2012, any